Hello everybody, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Let me make sure that my audio is okay. It's been quite a while since I made a video on some of these, on some of my channels. Alright, so I am filming this live on 3 different channels. I'm filming this live on 2 of my crypto channels, and I'm filming this live on my stock channel. The reason why I'm filming this on my stock channel is because some people on my stock channel also deal in cryptocurrency. Albeit most people deal with Ethereum or Bitcoin, a lot of people on my stock channel do deal in cryptocurrency. Also, I do have a play for Robinhood, which is a crypto stock. I do have a play for MicroStrategies, which is a crypto stock. And I probably will be buying Leap's call options for Coinbase, which is a crypto stock. James, how are you, buddy? So this is why I'm filming this on my stock channel. Also, I'm filming this on my 2 crypto channels. So I haven't been filming crypto for quite a while. To be honest, I got really discouraged with the subscribers. I got really discouraged with what's happening in the market. And I got really discouraged dealing with trolls. I was going to leave YouTube altogether. But with that said, I wanted to try to make, cover what's currently happening with the lawsuit of Coinbase, what's currently happening with the lawsuit of Binance. So if you're part of my stock channel and this is something that you guys don't like, please don't watch. But I have a feeling that some people want to know what's happening with crypto. Getting repped, added to every crypto bag. Yeah, man, I hear you, man. It's very hard to be a crypto investor, right? Basically, everything is down like 40-50% since Gary Gensler opened up his mouth. It's funny, Gary Gensler is trying to protect the consumer by wrecking cryptocurrency. It's absolutely absurd. The glasses weird music video disapproved your gangster. Well, I'll give you a little bit of a word of advice, Bobby. In actuality, nobody gives a flying fuck if you disapproved of it or not. And, you know, you could do whatever you want. But thank you for letting me know that unbelievable statement that nobody cares about. Okay, so in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening right now with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, by and large, is being attacked, it seems like, by Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler is the head of the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. And he basically filed suit. He has 3 suits going on. 3 main suits. There's more. 3 main suits. So he filed a suit against XRP Ripple, calling it a security. So that's one. That's a while ago. And then around 5 or 6 days ago, he filed a suit on Binance, saying that Binance basically is like FTX, okay? Binance is commingling funds, and Binance is messing around. And then he files suit on Coinbase, and he says Coinbase is trading in unregistered securities, okay? So these are the 3 lawsuits that are currently going on. I'm putting XRP into this lawsuit because it's very important to see what's going to happen with XRP. If XRP, which is the closest with their lawsuit, because they've been lawsuit, you know, for the last 2 years, if XRP can win against Gary Gensler, this is a very strong case for Coinbase. Binance, I don't know what's going to happen to Binance, because you better believe it that it's not just Gary Gensler who's pushing this. For sure, somebody is forcing Gary Gensler to go after them. Now, there are a lot of politicians that are supporting cryptocurrency right now. Not all politicians are against cryptocurrency. And a lot of people or a lot of politicians are calling for Gary Gensler to step down as the head of the SEC. So Gary Gensler accuses the Coinbase for not registering as a securities exchange and trading in unregistered securities. Meanwhile, Coinbase is like, listen, we are a publicly traded company. You reviewed all our documents. Everything we did was outlined. We tried to make numerous appointments with you, and you didn't let us. So these are 3 very different lawsuits that are happening. probably Binance has the hardest thing to do right now. Also, Binance is stopping all USD pairs, like any money pairs for cryptocurrency. So be very, very careful. I'm going to play you a few videos right now. One video is the CEO of Coinbase. He's actually discussing what's going on, right? And we should definitely watch it. What about Algorand? What specifically would you like to know about Algorand? Algorand is doing really bad like all the other cryptocurrencies, but Algorand is most definitely doing worse than most of the cryptocurrencies. Algorand has a very big problem, okay? Algorand has a very big problem. Besides for Gary Gensler and the crypto market in a whole, the Algorand Foundation really fucked up. Really fucked up. They had an opportunity to market and public relation the heck out of Algorand with all the money that they had. But instead of spending the money in the right ways, they spent it on stupidity, and they didn't take advantage of getting in front of people's eyes and ears. Now, I screamed it from the rooftops that Algorand should be doing more marketing and public relations. For some reason, there's this misconception that the best tech wins. The best tech does not always win, and the best tech is only half the game. On top of that, Algorand has no champion. Algorand has no person in the public eye. Ethereum has Vitaly Buterin, Charles Hoskinson is on Cardano, and unfortunately, Silvio McCallie, for better or for worse, he's an introvert, and he doesn't want to be in front of the public eye. It is what it is. And unfortunately, I regret it with every ounce of my being that I sold my Bitcoins for Algorand. I regret it every single second for the last 6 months or so, 7 months. And Algorand is going to need a miracle to get out of this. A miracle. But at the same time, Algorand's technology is really good, but it seems like nobody gives a shit about their technology. So that's about Algorand. A lot of cryptos were named securities. Hedera H-bar, knock on wood, was not called a security. So that's a good thing if you're a Hedera head. What else? What else can I talk about? So that's kind of where we are right now with the crypto market. Everything is suffering. So there's two things or two schools of thought here. Do you or do you not believe that we're going to get out of this? Do you believe that Coinbase is going to win the lawsuit? Do you think they're going to lose? Do you think Binance is going to win? Do you think they're going to lose? And do you think XRP is going to win, or do you think XRP is going to lose? There could be more lawsuits coming out, right? Though they're not the only people that are being sued. There's other lawsuits that are happening. Kraken just settled the lawsuit, right, with the SEC for several $1 million. As somebody said, this is buying opportunities. Yes, it's buying opportunities. You cannot kill crypto, but you could severely diminish the ability to trade and liquidity for crypto. So if it's that much harder to buy crypto and that much harder to sell crypto, that's the problem, right? So that's going to be definitely a very big problem. Now, this is a screen. Let me share this really fast. Let me share this, present. So when Coinbase got sued, this is the response Coinbase gave to the lawsuit. This is like Coinbase is trying to say, listen, we tried to do the right thing, but you don't let us. So there's a really big school of thought, as per that video, that America is falling behind other modern countries when it comes to cryptocurrency. And instead of developing cryptocurrency in America, people are going to go offshore, abroad, which means America is going to lose one of their main strongholds of a tech hub for cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is not dead. Cryptocurrency is not going to die. However, if you take away America's ability to buy, sell, and trade crypto easily, and that includes on-ramping and off-ramping, this is going to reduce the liquidity of cryptocurrency, and the price of crypto is going to go down. How much they're going to go down, I don't know. I will tell you something else as well. As per the Coinbase, 1 million jobs are going offshore. 1 million jobs. So there's a lot of politicians that are like, listen, what's happening with crypto, the attack on crypto by Gary Gensler and his cronies is unfair, and the American population is losing in this crypto fight. You might say, well, politicians don't care about crypto. They care that America remains strong. Plus, a lot of politicians have their money invested in crypto, so some of them do care. That's why a lot of them are calling for the resignation of Gary Gensler or to bring him down a notch. If I wanted to invest right now, if I had money on the sidelines, I would only be buying Bitcoin. That's it. I would not buy anything but Bitcoin right now. That's my opinion, because Bitcoin is going to come out on top of this no matter what. And I've been saying this for quite a while. Unfortunately, like a stupid idiot, I sold my Bitcoin to buy Algorand because Algorand was so beat up. I said, hey, Algorand's going to make a comeback. Let me ride that wave. And a comeback never came. But it is what it is, as we say, right? It is what it is, as we say. Crypto will be criminalized in America. I don't think crypto will be criminalized in America. They cannot do that. So the government cannot go after your rights. The government will not go after your rights blatantly and make it, a nationwide ban. I don't think so, because that's going to be unconstitutional. But what they will do is make it extremely difficult to buy, sell, trade on and off ramp your cryptocurrency funds, so on and so forth. They're probably going to get rid of the wash rule soon for cryptocurrency, which is going to make it even harder for cryptocurrency, so on and so forth. So I don't think it will be criminalized in America, but definitely it's going to be a different type of America. But there is some bright side, and I'll tell you in just a moment. Sergeant Fighter, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Shout out to you. Thank you very, very much. Always motivated. Always motivated. You'll be lucky if algo passes 80 cents in the next bull run. It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. I made my bet. I'm going to sleep in it. I still hold all of my Algorand. I'm going to say that, unfortunately, I have all my Algorand. I probably should have sold when Algorand hit 45 cents and then it dropped again during this FTX, fiasco. But it is what it is. I have my Algorand. I stand behind the technology, and I stand behind the project, even though I'm absolutely disgusted by the team. And obviously, I'm not happy with what's happening with the price. But I'm a big boy. I'm very diversified. I have many different investments. And crypto is just one of my investments. And within crypto, Algorand is just one of my investments. I don't want to bad talk them too much, because at the end of the day, Algorand has a lot going for it. But it's an uphill battle because nobody gives a shit and nobody knows about what Algorand has going for them. And when you have the Algorand team literally going and doing interviews talking about, we don't care about hype, we don't care about meme culture, like, bro, what the F are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? And it's not just me talking about that. Also, I heard AJ's interview. AJ was saying the same thing. He's behind the project. The project is good. The fundamentals is good. The problem is the team of Algorand is messing up. And when I say the team, I don't mean everybody. Greg from Algorand Incorporated is unbelievable. John Allen Woods is absolutely a stud when it comes to Algorand. If John Allen Woods was not there, if Greg was not there, I think that the price of Algorand would probably be like half of where it is right now. Thank God they have John Allen Woods. He's the only one who understands a little bit of let's get in front of the public eye. Okay. Do you guys want to watch the interview with Coinbase talking and responding about what's happening with cryptocurrency? So there's huge opportunities right now in crypto. If cryptocurrency wins the lawsuit, if XRP wins, if Binance wins, or if Coinbase wins, then crypto is going to skyrocket. But you don't know how long that's going to take. So you can really be getting in at a very, very new ground floor level, okay? You could be getting into a ground floor level to see what's going to be happening later. Yeah, XRP, the price held. Quant, the price held. Hedera, the price held. Cardano, the price held. Literally every single cryptocurrency except for Algorand went down proportionately to where they needed to be. When Stacey Warden became the CEO of Algorand Foundation, Algorand was in spot 18 of CoinMarketCap. And right now, Algorand is a top 60 cryptocurrency because it already hit spot 50. Bro, we went from spot 18 to spot 50. You know what I mean? And why? What happened? What came into Algorand that made this happen? The only common denominator I can think of is Algorand Foundation. Anyways, I want to listen to the Coinbase interview. This is what I'm going to listen to right now. Share screen. Broccoli Bob, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? Woke corporate culture. Yeah, Stacey Warden, man. Is Algo genuinely sold or is it being held short? I don't know what that means. I want to listen to this interview but from Coinbase. So let me present this. Share screen. Guys, I'm not going to be talking. I'm just going to be listening to this interview for the next 30 minutes.
CEO Brian Armstrong is in a battle with regulators. The SEC sued his company, saying Coinbase broke the rules by listing tokens that the regulator alleges are subject to securities laws. He sat down with the Journal to discuss the situation. This doesn't seem like one where there's a lot of dispute about the facts. You're trading cryptocurrencies on Coinbase. The question really is, are you breaking the law? And is what you are trading a security? So take us through how you think about this case from a legal standpoint. We're not disputing facts here. We're disputing interpretation of the law. What's your interpretation of the law?
Well, okay, so let's zoom out for a minute. So if we go back to 2021, Coinbase, we wanted to become a public company. We described everything about our business, the assets that we list on our platform, how we do staking. And the SEC at that point allowed us to become a public company. And, fast forward, a year later, we started to hear some conflicting statements from the SEC, the CFTC. Generally, when we hear updated information from regulators, we go in and we talk to them. We say, great, if the rules have changed, how can we adjust? And, an example of that was they said XRP we think might be a security. We said, okay, we want to act in good faith. We'll delist it. We don't know if it's a security or not, and that court case is still playing out. But, we want to be collaborative and work with regulators. And then something shifted about a year ago. A totally different tone started to happen. And we kind of got this information from the SEC that, well, actually, we think everything other than Bitcoin is a security. And we kind of said to ourselves, well, that's not our understanding of the law. How are you coming to this conclusion? And we were sort of met with silence, right? We did a series of meetings with them, probably 30 meetings over the last 12 months, where they asked us every question under the sun. We kind of, told them everything we could about our business. But we didn't really get clarity from them about how we could come in and register, which assets they had a concern with, why there's contradictory statements between them and the CFTC. We didn't really get any feedback from them. And suddenly we got this Wells notice and then the complaint that was filed yesterday. So basically we're in this environment of, regulation by enforcement. I don't feel like there's a clear rule book. The only sort of high level statements they've made is that everything other than Bitcoin is a security, which that's just not what it says in the law. And by the way, that would also kind of mean like the end of the crypto industry in the U.S. if that was actually what happened. And so we have to go to court to challenge that. We're proud to do it for the industry and for America.
But this has been something that has been hanging over the industry and Coinbase for a while. The SEC, as far back as the previous administration, Jay Clayton, had been saying things about, hey, some of these things are securities that are being traded out there. The SEC has written papers about this. You, in your S-1, when you filed to go public, put down as a risk, the SEC may decide that the stuff that we are trading is in fact a security, and there are onerous and difficult registration obligations that we would have to do should the SEC decide this. So it isn't like this sort of came out of nowhere. This was something that had been over the industry for a while. But you pushed ahead anyway and built a business and grew that business and added more tokens and added more assets. Tell us why you did that.
Yeah, well, there are certainly crypto securities out there. In fact, Coinbase has reviewed, well over 1,000 different assets. 90% of them we've rejected, right? Because we thought some of them could be securities, or we had other concerns about them. So we've really only listed a very conservative, small number of the assets out there. And so I agree with the statement. There's a lot of crypto securities out there. In fact, I would like there to be a robust, healthy market for people to trade crypto securities in the U.S. I think this is one more area where crypto could help update the financial system around capital formation. And we should make it easier for people to raise money for their company or for something they want to build in the world, and those should be issued and registered as crypto securities. We filed a petition formally with the SEC to try to get clarity about how that could happen. We acquired a broker-dealer license, which is dormant because we haven't found a way to activate it with the SEC. So I would like there to be a robust market for trading crypto securities. The 10% or less of assets that we reviewed that we did decide to list, we feel that those are crypto commodities. And so they don't need to be registered and traded with under an SEC license.
Let's back up a little bit for people who are not so in the weeds on all the various minutiae here. The SEC has alleged basically that you are running afoul of the rules in three ways: that you're a broker-dealer, that you are a clearinghouse, and that you are an exchange. All three of those things, the SEC requires that you register and take a bunch of actions. You aren't doing that. There's no dispute that you are not any of those things. Is that right? Or is there any dispute that you are acting as a broker-dealer, acting as a clearinghouse, and acting as an exchange?
No, we don't claim to be a broker-dealer, or we've acquired a broker-dealer license that's still dormant because they won't allow us to activate it. But for the assets that we do trade, those are commodities, so they don't require those registrations.
They don't require the registrations, but we're not disputing what you do. What you do is function as an exchange, function as a clearinghouse, and function as a broker. The dispute is around whether what you are trading, clearing, and broking is indeed something that's under the SEC's jurisdiction, right?
Yeah, we're trading on our exchange crypto commodities today.
So let's zoom way out again for people who might not be deep into the minutia of this. So the question of what is a security, you can think about it in a whole bunch of different ways, and there's case law on this. But like, to zoom way out, you've got like baseball cards at one end. Mm-hmm. You've got Apple stock on the other end, right? Baseball cards clearly not a security. We trade baseball cards; they have value, but nobody thinks that like a 1987 Topps Darryl Strawberry is a security. Mm-hmm. Apple stock clearly a security. Big gap between those things. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin looks like it's more over here, closer to a baseball card. And the SEC is making arguments that a bunch of things that you trade on Coinbase are more over here, closer to Apple, that they're company-like things. They're companies that work on these protocols that issue these coins. They issue the coins to people who expect that they get a profit from those coins. How do you think about that distinction?
Right. Okay. So I'll just clarify up front here. I'm not a lawyer, right? So I'm going to do my best to get to touch on this.
But you have had a lot of time and have had to do a lot of thinking about this topic.
Sure. This is a deeply technical topic in the law, and I'll tell you my interpretation of it in a second. But it's worth noting that in the United States we have a securities regulator, the SEC. We also have a commodities regulator, and so partly this is a major topic of debate in the U.S. is like, which one is it? But in other countries, like in the UK, for instance, they just have one financial regulator for both. And it's funny, they spend like 1% of their time even discussing this issue as some sort of like kind of wonky, interesting topic. But it's a massive issue in the U.S. just because we have two separate federal regulators, and there's kind of like a turf war, political, power sort of battle happening, which we feel like we're caught in the middle of. So anyway, with that as a backdrop, there is this thing called the Howey test, right? Which is the definition of a security, and it kind of says, is there an investment of money in a common enterprise with an expectation of profit based on the effort of others. So it has those kind of four prongs. You can spend, you can twist yourself into knots kind of teasing it apart. But the important thing to know is that all four of those things have to be true, right? So you can imagine there are things that, like you mentioned, baseball cards. There's other things that people invest in, even with an expectation of profit, like let's say a Picasso painting, right? That they hope to make money on. They hope it will go up in value, but that's not a security, right? Because it's not based on the efforts of others. And so there's various ways that, you could imagine a crypto asset would not be a security, right? If it's sufficiently decentralized, there's no common enterprise, right? If there's some specific utility around it, it's not just for the purpose of, the value of going up, right? And so what we need in the United States at this point to get regulatory clarity, unblock this issue, get rid of the turf war, is regulatory clarity. And I think what's going to happen now, since the CFTC and the SEC have not been able to sort of, figure this out, is we're going to have Congress step in and draft legislation that will unblock this issue in the United States, or we're going to have the courts create more case law, which is partly what we can do by going to court with the SEC here. Is it's just helping get case law created. I've been really pleasantly surprised to see that there's now draft bills being created in Congress. Congress is very aware this is an issue, by the way. They're worried that the U.S. is going to be left behind because while this kind of back and forth fighting is happening, the UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, like the UAE, every financial hub in the world is kind of saying, hey, we want to be the future crypto Web3 hub, and we have clear rules. Europe just passed comprehensive crypto legislation way ahead of the U.S. So usually we think of ourselves as kind of innovative leaders around technology in the U.S. We're taking notes now from Europe because we haven't gotten this figured out. So
I want to come to what the rules should be and what you think they should be and how they should be changed down the road in a second. But I want to stay for a little bit on what the rules are now, which is what we have to deal with. It's what the industry has to deal with. There are rules now. The rules are subject to interpretation. Obviously, it sounds like you will be taking this to court pretty hard, and there will be a trial and a discussion and litigation about what the rules are. I assume that's where you're going with this. So under those rules, I want to pick out a couple of things that the SEC has said. The SEC has said that there are 13 tokens that are cryptocurrencies, crypto assets, or whatever you want to call them, that you are trading. They say actually at least 13, but they name 13 that they say are securities, and they provide some detail for them. And in a couple of those cases, from reading the SEC's complaint, it looks a lot like a company selling stock. So they bring up the example of Solana, where there was a fundraising. They sold these tokens. Investors bought the tokens. They told the investors, we're going to use the money that you give us to grow and develop the platform. We're going to hire engineers. We're going to build stuff. And in return, we're going to reduce the supply of tokens so that the tokens that you hold become more valuable. That sounds a lot like a company selling stock. How is that not, in your view?
Right. So you're right. The SEC complaint sort of said, of the over 200 assets on our platform, we have a concern about these 13. So it was a relatively small percentage. But to answer your question directly, so again, if any of those four prongs of the Howey test are invalidated, it may not be a security, right? And again, this is something the courts would have to kind of really dig into. But an example would be, in the Solana case, right? Let's say that if something has sufficiently been decentralized, that could be an argument, right?
But there are founders of Solana. There's a Solana Labs. There's a Solana entity.
Sure. There was a founder of Bitcoin too, right?
Maybe we don't know.
And Ethereum, right? So this is actually an interesting sort of nuanced point. Some things could be a commodity from day one. Other types of crypto assets, they may start as a security because they're just raising money for a project that could be something in the future. But then as that project launches and it decentralizes and it develops utility, it may actually convert to being a commodity at some point, right? This is actually an important part of the law that's unclear right now. And for instance, the draft bill that we saw come out of Congress last week from McHenry and Thompson, they start to try to address this issue of how and when would an asset that started as a security become a commodity, right? So anyway, there's a lot of details where in a moment in time you have to look at it. It could be different a year later. Anyway, with every asset we've listed on our platform, we did extensive diligence. We did I think it was like a 72-point legal analysis. We rejected 90% of the assets. Every asset we decided to list, we felt there was a strong argument that it was a commodity, and that's what we're going to go to court to win on.
So you looked at thousands or 1,000 tokens. You listed 250-ish of them, and the SEC has a problem with 13, at least 13, but they highlight 13. So, but the issue is you have to bat 1,000, right? You can't have any securities. You've got to have all 250 that you trade can't be securities. Otherwise, you're running an unlicensed securities exchange and an unlicensed clearinghouse and an unlicensed broker. So it seems like the odds are kind of not in your favor.
So that's not really how I think of it. Remember, the goal of this lawsuit is to get clarity for the industry, right? And we've actually been formally petitioning the SEC for clarity.
Well, the SEC's goal is to stop you from breaking the law in their view. It's not. I don't think they think that there's a lack of clarity in the industry. I think they think that you're breaking the law.
Well, that may be what they say, but I can assure you there's a huge lack of clarity. I mean, every startup in the crypto space is spending huge amounts of money on legal, lawyers who basically tell them, I don't know, there's no case law. We can't really give you a clear answer, right? And the SEC has really failed to kind of publish a clear set of guidance. You may have seen in front of Congress, Patrick McHenry asked the chair just a very simple question on one asset. Is Ethereum a security or commodity? And over again, he refused to answer. I mean, so even on some of the biggest assets, they can't just give you a clear answer. But yeah, going back to the prior point I was going to make. So, our goal with this court case is to begin to get clarity for the industry, not just for us, but for the whole industry, honestly for America, so that it doesn't fall behind in this area. And so if we get any kind of clarity from the court, regardless of the outcome, honestly, I think it would be a step in the right direction. But we feel strongly all of the ones that we listed there, since we took a pretty conservative approach, they are commodities.
Now, in the process of assessing which assets should be listed, that was something that your company spent a bunch of time on. You participated in some of these discussions. To describe the process, how does that work?
So actually, there's a committee, a digital asset listing group, that decides this. I'm actually not on that committee.
And you don't participate in those discussions?
I helped design and give input on the process and how it was designed originally with lawyers, but I'm not actually one of the decision makers on the listing process intentionally. And so the thing that committee does, every asset that we review, we look at a number of factors. So one of them is this legal analysis about, is it a commodity or a security? And we've developed our own internal framework for that. We've shared that with the SEC. We shared it with them before we went public. They've been well aware of it for many years. We also look at the cybersecurity, kind of the credibility of the token. Some of these smart contracts could have issues that might harm customers, and so we do a cybersecurity analysis. We also do a compliance review of the asset and the founding team. So based on that, the committee, which has a diverse set of skills of different people in finance and cyber and legal and all kinds of things, they make the listing decisions.
The SEC says in its complaint that you rushed that process, that Coinbase actually started fairly conservatively with Bitcoin and with a much smaller set of tokens, while everybody else in the space was going wild, listing a zillion things and trading derivatives and all kinds of crazy stuff. And you were pretty conservative, but over time you listed more and more and more, and possibly let the standards and let the analysis slip. How do you respond to that?
Well, we've rejected over 90% of the assets we've reviewed, so I think that's a good start. And then I feel pretty comfortable about the analysis. I think as the SEC goes in to look at it, really as the court goes in to look at it, because the SEC has already seen all of this, I think they'll find it to be a very rigorous analysis. We have, basically a stack of paper on every single asset we've ever decided to list. And the irony of this is that we were continuously asking them during this period, can you give us more clarity? That's how it's supposed to work. Like, the regulator publishes the rules and then everybody has to follow them, right? So you have to remember that there were no rules. We couldn't really get any feedback from them about, was this asset okay or was that not? Why, right? And so with them sort of abdicating that responsibility, we essentially had to create our own process. And I think we did a really good job of that, working with some of the best legal minds in the world. And so I think it's pretty unfair, and I think this is not a good fact pattern for them that a jury or a judge would look at, is to say, look, this company was formally petitioning you for clarity. They met with you 30 times. They developed their own internal framework, working with the best lawyers in the world, and you never gave them any feedback on it. And then you hit them with this enforcement action. That's not fair, and that's not good for America.
Coinbase has a venture arm that invests in tokens and other things. Does it invest in anything that's traded on the platform?
I don't I don't know actually the exact. I want to make sure I give you a specific answer, but I think most of those have been just standard venture investments in startups.
So that's not a factor in the listing decisions, is whether Coinbase has or doesn't have a position in the company or the token.
Well, we don't take any listing fees, and as far as I know, on the digital asset listing group, they don't look at our personal Coinbase venture investment. It's not a factor.
You talked about the rules and the clarity and what the rules should be. What's wrong with the Howey test? It's been around for, since 1946. It covers a whole lot of things. It started with orange groves, but it covers stocks and all kinds of stuff, and has been deployed in a bunch of different places. And the original kind of idea of it was for it to be flexible. It was not supposed to be, we're going to make a determination about this specific thing. It was supposed to be flexible because the court knew that securities and trading would evolve over time. What's wrong with it? How does it fail to count for the specific needs of crypto?
Yeah, so I think it's a great starting place, and we basically need case law to sort of help us understand some of the nuances of how this applies in a crypto environment. So an example is that in crypto, for many of these assets, there is no common enterprise or central authority that would be responsible, say, for issuing disclosures or something like that. Like the Ethereum network, there's not any one group that controls it. It's decentralized, right? And so we actually, we put out this petition to the SEC. People can Google it if they want. I think it's Coinbase petition to the SEC. You can kind of read it. And we actually, a lot of these are really technical legal questions, but there's about 40 different areas where we felt like the current law was a little unclear on this. Like, decentralization, utility. What does that mean in context of open source software, right? Who would issue the disclosures if there's not a common enterprise, right? So there's a lot of open questions like that, which we don't feel have been answered, and that's the kind of clarity that would be helpful.
Do you think that there is a role for those disclosures, for that kind of information to investors? Because right now there isn't, right? There isn't any disclosure about any of these tokens besides white papers and other stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly not standardized disclosure. Do you think there should be some disclosure, leaving aside who does it or how it happens?
Yeah, so for crypto securities, absolutely, there should be the normal set of disclosures. Even for some of these things which may be classified as commodities, I think disclosures could be an important part of that. And actually, one of the nice things about crypto is that you can actually go look at a lot of this data on chain. It's public. There's a couple of companies that are trying to find ways to sort of better aggregate it and sort of say, okay, here's the distribution of all the people who own it. How long have they owned it? What price did they buy it at? Are they insiders or are they, just third parties? And trying to get better insights. So anyway, I think that kind of thing is really important. And again, it needs to be updated for this new technology, which is a little different than what's come before.
It sounds like what we're talking about here, though, is a question of degree, right? So there are some, back to the sort of baseball card and Apple thing, there's a big hazy middle there, and the SEC would like to put the line here, and you'd like to put the line somewhere to the right of where the SEC wants to put the line. But fundamentally, you're still thinking about the distinction between commodities, which are okay to trade in the way that you trade them, and securities, which shouldn't be. It's just a question of where the line should be. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what the courts and Congress need to figure out, is where should that line be? And honestly, reasonable people could disagree. There's probably somewhere there, ultimately our goal is we're already licensed by the CFTC, and we have the dormant license from the SEC. We would like to be in a world where we're just licensed and regulated by both, and it's a healthy market structure, and maybe some of these assets would start as a security and they'd migrate. The McHenry-Thompson bill that kind of came out last week contemplates this idea of, maybe we could actually have one exchange where both commodities and securities and stable coins, and by the way, there's other things in crypto too, artwork and identity and all kinds of things. So these could all kind of coexist on a regulated platform. And so if you do have a new technology that comes along, it doesn't quite look like A or B, it's some kind of hybrid, that's probably why we need new legislation.
So if the line gets drawn here, and my hand is meant to be in between Bitcoin and Ether over here and everything else over here.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin and Ether are the only commodities, is Coinbase a viable business? Can you just say, you know what, forget about all the rest of it. We're just going to trade Bitcoin and Ether. That's the business.
Well, first of all, I think that would be a pretty extreme position, and that's not what the rest of the world, including Europe and the UK and Singapore and Hong Kong, have done. So let's put that aside for a minute. I don't think that's actually, I don't think that's what the law says either. But so Bitcoin and Ethereum are the majority of our revenue today in the trading world, right? Now, we also make quite a bit of revenue. Almost 50% of our revenue is from non-trading fees, right? And then we also have revenue outside of the United States, right? So I guess even in that scenario, yes, we're a viable business and there's lots of things, but I also think that's just not what's going to happen, because that's not where Congress is headed. That's not what the courts will decide.
You are unusual among other crypto exchanges in that 84% of your revenue is in the United States, and most of the rest of them either are not in the United States or say they are not in the United States. Is there some universe in which Coinbase also, and Bittrex did this, when they were sued by the SEC, said, you know what, we're going to give up the US and go to the rest of the world. Is there some universe in which Coinbase gives up on the US?
No, I mean, we're here to stay. I created this company in the United States because I believe it's a big market, but there's rule of law, and there's a willingness to generally do the right thing, even if it takes a few iterations. So we are going to continue to be in the U.S. We're going to be the leader in the U.S. The U.S. is going to get to the right outcome, whether it's through the courts, Congress, the CFTC. Something is going to come to fruition, or maybe the 2024 elections will change this. America has a way of healing, right? Like, if the winds blow this way and then 4 to 8 years later, they kind of blow the other way. And eventually we get to the right outcome, even if it takes a while. At the same time, while we're going to be the leader in the US, we're going to be a multinational. We have entities in all the major financial hubs, or many of them at this point. And I want to be an American company that has a global footprint.
The SEC also sued Binance this week, of course. Those cases are similar, but also different in important ways. Tell us how you see your case versus Binance's case, and whether there are commonalities, there are places where you and they would be sort of fighting the same fight with the SEC, and places where there are differences.
Yeah, so I think they're actually very different, and it was kind of unfortunate that they were done back to back. My guess is that might have been deliberate to try to conflate the issue. But just to give you some examples, I mean, and I don't want to say anything about any other companies in the space, but I'll just talk about Coinbase. So there were no allegations in our complaint about misappropriation of customer funds or wash trading. There was no naming of me or the executive team personally. It really was just a question on this technical matter of are these securities or commodities? And I guess it's also important to note, as you said earlier too, I mean, Coinbase is based in the US. We're a public company, so that means we have strict requirements around, for instance, like audited financial statements. So when we say that customer funds are segregated and they're backed one-to-one, you don't have to take our word for it. Our external Big Four auditing firm is looking at that.
You have taken, I think it's fair to say, a reasonably confrontational approach with the SEC. There's a Twitter thread in which you said there's some sketchy things going on. Do you regret that approach?
Well, I wouldn't say our approach has been confrontational. It is with great, we'd never relished the opportunity or the idea of ending up in litigation with our regulator. In fact, quite the opposite. I mean, we spent 30 meetings over the last year trying to be as helpful and collaborative as we could, and really got no feedback, right? We decided to become a public company, which, and shared all this information with them. So, and by the way, I have a great deal of respect for the people at the SEC, the staff, the commissioners. I think our relationship with the chair has been quite difficult, honestly, but there's a lot of really good people at the SEC, and we've had no issue working with every other regulator out there, both in the U.S. but also internationally.
Why has the relationship with Chair Gensler been difficult?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate on his motives or anything like that. But when he first came into the role, I made an effort to kind of fly out there and go meet with him. I don't know why the schedules wouldn't align. We made several attempts. We eventually did get to meet, but only virtually.
Have you ever had a one-on-one meeting in person with him?
I've never been able to meet with him in person, which is rare. Every regulator that we have, I've been able to get meetings with, including the heads of government in many of these countries where we operate. It may have been a COVID thing at that time, but it may have been other reasons too. I don't know. I don't. It doesn't seem like he wanted to meet with us.
Let's talk a little bit about the future and what a different universe for crypto might look like. You've talked a bunch about how crypto could be, how the rules that are currently in place, the Howey test and other things could be applied to crypto, and the legal analysis that will happen in the context of this court case. But you've also talked about talking with Congress and you alluded to a sort of future administration after the 2024 elections. If the political system were such that it would create a new set of rules for crypto, and you could sort of whiteboard from zero on what those rules might look like without having to deal with the existing framework. Brainstorm in your head. What is sort of Brian Armstrong's dream regulatory structure for crypto?
Well, so the first one is we just need to get some clarity about the market structure and how, the CFTC and the SEC are both going to regulate this industry. What are the boundaries? I think we also need to just bring in some basic consumer protections, which are, around wash trading prevention, AML, KYC, having audited financial statements. These are just kind of best practices that can come over from traditional financial services and be applied to crypto. And then I think we also need to get a little bit more clarity about stablecoins, because that's been a really big use case and area of growth for crypto. And so there's still a little bit of lack of clarity there about how issuance works and things like that. So it's actually not rocket science. This is just applying some of these really basic common sense ideas to the industry. And then once we have that legislation in place, I think we'll start to see some of the entrepreneurs who've left the US come back and say, okay, I feel that we're not just going to be attacked randomly or have incredibly high legal bills at any given moment, and we can actually build a business here in the US again.
Yeah, man. So that's where we are with crypto right now. It seems like this is a great opportunity for crypto to get their chance to go to court and actually argue with what's happening, because, crypto is getting abused. Nobody has an opportunity to speak, and these rules and regulations are kind of being made on a whim. So at least now, people in the crypto community are going to have the opportunity to speak in front of the judge, and hopefully there's going to be a positive ruling. Again, Binance, XRP, and Coinbase, all three completely different things. But I think the XRP and Coinbase are kind of intertwined, and Binance is a totally different situation. Binance is like, you did mad illegal shit, while Coinbase is like you're using unregulated securities, right? You have 230,000 Algorand. Congratulations. My average price is 35 cents. Congratulations. That's a very nice bag. I got more Algorand, and my average is a lot higher than that. So you did good. You wish you were wrecked. I'm happy to sell you them for what I paid. LOL. My average entry is something like 150. I'm wrecked. So I don't think I'm at 150. I think my average is closer to $1, like below $1. I'm not sure exactly how much. Yeah, man, it sucks. You know what sucks? I'll tell you what sucks. What really, really sucks, what really pisses me off, is not that the whole market is down. I can handle that. What pisses me off is that Algorand went from spot 18 to spot 50. And now they're like at spot 44, 45. This is what kills me. That Algorand cannot hold this price. And for anybody that says Algorand's going to come back, buy the dips. Yes, there's a great opportunity if Algorand comes back. But every single dip, Algorand does not recover. Lower lows, lower highs. You know? What else? I think that's about it, guys. I just really wanted to cover this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like stocks, feel free to watch my stock channel. I'm not sure if I'm going to make any more crypto content or not. If I feel like it, I will. I'm not jumping to make any crypto content. And there's a lot of opportunities. If you guys are from my stock channel, I will be looking at scumbag, but Coinbase and XRP are victims of 100%. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That Coinbase and XRP have a really, really big opportunity to get out of this. CZ seems to be doing exactly what, well, I don't want to say anything, but they're not doing good. Dude, that's exactly what happened to me. I was selling my cryptos to cover my margin. I had like $250,000 of margin between stocks, crypto, and things like that. So I was selling like 7 or 8 months ago. And I'm like, okay, should I sell Algorand or should I sell Bitcoin? I said, you know what? I'll sell my Bitcoin because Algorand can give me that push. Bitcoin's only going to give me a 2 or triple up. So stupid. I'm so mad. I am so mad, man. I am so pissed that I ended up going to Algorand. And I feel like the team at Algorand failed the community. But at the end of the day, I'm a big boy and it is what it is. I still hold my Algorand and I hope that we get out of this, on top. But it sucks because Algorand only has dips. Algorands don't have any run-ups. The only run-up that Algorand had was completely fucked up by Algorand Incorporated. We have a run-up, and they completely botched the World Cup. Who remembers that? You remember when Algorand's price went up to like 70-something cents, and then all of a sudden, during the World Cup, like 3 days into the World Cup, they announced, oh, we're no longer the sponsor of World Cup. You guys remember that? You also remember when FIFA did their bullshit-ass NFTs on the Algorand community, and we bought them like idiots? You remember that, guys? So, yeah, it's very interesting. Stay strong, everybody. Stay strong. Maybe Algorand bounces back, man. I hope Algorand bounces back. I really, really hope so. It wouldn't be so bad if Algorand acted like the other cryptocurrencies, but Algorand absolutely got smacked. Smacked and disrespected. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. There are many opportunities in cryptocurrency right now. And if you truly, truly, truly believe in Algorand, right now is probably a fantastic opportunity to get into it. I don't know if you guys want to be buying Algorand or not. I don't know if you guys believe in the tech or not. In terms of the technology, it's amazing, but at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck about the technology. Matter of fact, you remember, Mike told me this a long time ago. Me and him were arguing. He was buying Matic. And I was arguing with some people on TikTok, and I guess they were right and I was wrong. They were like, it doesn't matter the technology. Nobody cares about Algorand. And since nobody cares about Algorand, nobody's going to know about Algorand's technology. And I was arguing like crazy. So what bothers me is there's a solution. The solution is Algorand Foundation needs to market and public relation. But they don't and they don't. And now it might be a little bit too late. We'll see what ends up happening with this lawsuit, man. The race is not over and we're in the race, right? Like we're in the back, PB. We ain't going nowhere. We have to stick around. Maybe at the end of the day, we're going to get out front. Who knows what happens at the end? Guys, thank you so much. Have a great day.